we're good. I think we're good, even though this is low quality, because this is at nighttime when I'm recording. Keep on recording at nighttime, but this one is actually going to be posted in the morning, so we're good. We might get more views off of that. But this is my video on why Indiana is the best basketball state. I'm going to disprove everybody who thinks different. I'm going to disprove everyone in New York and everyone in Canada. You're welcome to have your own wars in the comments section about which state is the better basketball state and stuff, but this is just my official video on it because I know I've said it in the past and I haven't really had a full video to cover all the topics, and I've just been saying it based on what I've heard from other people. Now I've gone out there and done some research, and I have this piece of paper. It's not a script, it is just quotes and things that I found online. Not that many things, but I've found some things. There's about 5 little paragraphs, I guess, on here. So yeah, we'll get into the video. And the first subject I have on here is in 1925, James Naismith attended an Indiana High School championship game. He recalled the site of the stadium as packed with 15,000 people, and he also said it gave him an experience. It gave him a thrill that he shall not forget. I mean, also another quote from James Naismith that I just know off the top of my head is that he said basketball got its start in Indiana. The creator of the game of basketball said that Indiana is where basketball got its start. He said Indiana is the place that embraced the game of basketball. What more evidence do you need other than the creator of the sport? And I know you're going to say, well, James Naismith was born in Canada. He actually invented the game in Massachusetts. He did not invent the game in Canada. But yes, he was born in Canada, but does that really have anything to do with it? And I know one person a long time ago in a video said, do you think if he was born in a third world country, that would be his main concern? And what I say to that is if he was in a third world country, yes, because if he was still a gym teacher and there were still problems with the cold outside, which those problems with the cold outside were in Massachusetts, but yes, I suppose they would have also been in Canada. But he would still be a gym teacher. If he was still a gym teacher, then it's not. In 1895, yes, there were still like third world countries. Actually, wait. Let me think about this real quick. So I'm trying to remember if in the 1800s, if it was as bad as it was today with how, with like bombs going off in different countries and being like that. I'm sure it was still bad in third world countries. Okay, yes. It may have had a difference, but if he went out and he still became a gym teacher, no, it wouldn't have a difference. And again, he invented it in Massachusetts, so if he still ended up in Massachusetts as a gym teacher, it didn't really affect it. The next thing is the first basketball tournament in Indiana began in 1911. That's before the NBA, that's before the NBL. If you didn't know, the NBL was the National Basketball League. It was the league before the NBA. And the next thing I have on here, the third thing, is the game was first brought to Indiana in 1894, November 17th, or 1892, depending on who you talk to, because there is a newspaper in 1894 on November 17th saying the first ever basketball game. But there's also a paper in 1892 in November that was saying that it was this first basketball game. So It just depends on who you ask. I don't know where I stand on that. I feel like there might be more evidence on the 1894 side, but also I feel like 2 years earlier there might have been less coverage of it. So I don't know. It's up in the air. Fourth thing I have on here is in Evansville, Indiana, the team. Wait, no. The team. In Evansville, Indiana, the term March Madness was created. The name of the NCAA's tournament for college basketball, that term was first said in Indiana. So not only does the NBA have Indiana to thank, but so does college basketball. The two biggest basketball leagues in the USA. The two biggest, I guess, companies for basketball, the NCAA and the NBA in the USA, have Indiana to thank for multiple things. The NBA just for really the game of basketball because we kind of popularized it. The NCAA for their big slogan that everybody says. Like, I'm sure if you ask somebody what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say college basketball, I'm sure they'll say March Madness, because that's just March Madness is a huge part of college basketball. The last thing I have on here was the first girls basketball tournament was held in Hunterburg, Indiana in 1926. Now, to put that in more context, you got to understand in 1926, women weren't really even supposed to have jobs. You know, there was mainly stay-at-home moms. This was, I'm pretty sure around that time people were still marching for women's rights. Legitimately marching for women's rights. I know I'm going to get hate for that in the comment, even though there aren't really any rights women don't have. But I'm going to get hate in that in the comments. But 1926, like, that's pretty major for 1926. It's pretty progressive. I'm going to say stuff that just, I don't have any things written down. That's just off the top of my head. I know the first basketball game for the NBA was played in Toronto, Canada, between New York and Toronto. I'm pretty sure. Or it was a team in Canada. But that wouldn't have happened if the game was not popularized in Indiana. It was popularized and then spread. And also, before you say the game was technically invented in Massachusetts, just because the game was invented there doesn't mean it was popular there. It might have been popular amongst the group of people that he invented it with. But that doesn't mean it was popular with the state of... Sorry, guys, it's like 3 in the morning. That doesn't mean that it was popular in Massachusetts as a whole. Did I really just question if Massachusetts was a state? Oh, Massachusetts is a state. Why did I question that? Just don't. Okay. But that doesn't mean it was popular in Massachusetts, like as a whole. When basketball came to Indiana, it was popular in Indiana as a whole. The creator has said it. Many people have said it. I don't know why people discredit it. But, it's all good because Indianapolis is one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. But also on that note, all you people in California, you went out and ruined California. Don't come and ruin my beautiful state, okay? Indiana is a wonderful place to live. Except for the winters, just because I hate the winters. I love the heat, but there are plenty of people here that love the winters. Just because, you ruined your state out there in California, and now you want to come over to a nice state like Indiana, don't come and ruin my state. Just don't do it. Don't come bring your pollution over here to Indiana. And also, before you're like, well, all Indiana does is grow corn. If you've ever eaten corn or you enjoy eating corn, you're welcome. Because we're one of the biggest providers. And also, because a lot of people like corn, our economy's pretty good over here in Indiana, so thanks, I guess. I don't really understand how it's an insult. And also, you're going to say, well, Indiana's a flyover state. If you mean by flyover state, if you mean planes fly over my house, fly over Indiana a lot, yes, planes fly over a lot of states. But also by flyover state, if you're going to say, all we have is cornfields and stuff, not really. If you go in country areas, yes, all you'll see is cornfields. But if you go in, or the central part in Indiana, if you go in parts of Indiana like Indianapolis or Fort Wayne or Terre Haute or Whiteland or Greenwood or Franklin or Center Grove or Gary, it's very populated and there aren't that many corn rows. Also, a lot of people like to say Terre Haute when they say Terre Haute. It's pronounced Terre Haute. Stop saying Terre Haute. It's pronounced Terre Haute. Also, before you insult Indiana again, first of all, Parks and Recreation took place in Indiana, and Stranger Things took place in Indiana. Also, think if anybody who, you're probably not watching this, but if anybody who helped create freaking Stranger Things, thank you for including basketball, because basketball was prominent across Indiana and still is. Also, one time in class, I heard someone say, back when Indiana used to be a basketball state. Indiana is still a basketball state. Do people think nobody likes basketball in Indiana anymore? Like, geez. Like, not only are we kind of a basketball state, we're also kind of a football state. Because, I mean, everybody also likes football here. Really, we're just a sports state in general. Because we support all of our sports teams. Because, like, we have a minor league team here, Indianapolis Indians. They're a pretty successful minor league team, considering that they're a minor league team. We also have it's a AAA club. We also have an A club up in Fort Wayne, the Fort Wayne Tin Caps, who also draw a pretty good crowd for only being A class. And also we have a minor league team here called the Fuel up in Indianapolis, which are the minor league affiliates for the Blackhawks in the NHL. They also draw pretty big crowds. So we're just a sports state in general. Like, we really embrace any sport you bring here. Except for freaking soccer. I don't know why, I just hate soccer. I get it's like one of the most popular sports in the world, but I just hate soccer. Which is spoken like a typical kid from the US. But, like, if you can find any evidence of Indiana not being a basketball state, please bring it to my attention, because I would like to see it. Because we've supported this game since the freaking 1800s. We've played this game since the 1800s. We've embraced this game. And the creator of the game has said that. And also, we have had a professional team here in every professional league, I'm pretty sure. NBL, we had the Indiana Blackhawks, I believe they were called. Or there was Indiana Industrials, I think. There was a team in Indiana here for the NBL. In early NBA, we had a team. We had the Pistons were based in Fort Wayne, or the Fort Wayne Pistons. In the ABA, we had the Pacers, who are now an NBA team. In the G League, and in the D League, but back when it was the D League, but in D League and G League, we have the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. So we've had a team in the NBL, the ABA, the NBA, the G League. Is that it? Yeah, I believe that's it. And we've had high school teams, we've had high school tournaments since 1911. I don't know what more evidence you want, basketball fans. I mean, basketball has been played here in the smallest of towns. It's been played here in the biggest of cities in Indiana. And also, I would like to point out, in those cornfields, there is a barn, most likely. And inside that barn, there is probably a basketball hoop. In fact, my great-grandma, who owns a farm, not in Indiana, close to Indiana, but in Ohio, which I guess really doesn't credit this, but it's just, they actually have a hoop boarded to the side of the barn. And that's how a lot of barns in Indiana are. You know, there's a hoop either in the inside of it or on the outside of the barn. So, even in the cornfields, basketball is played in Indiana. So, I'd say Indiana's actually a pretty good state. I mean, this is going off the topic of basketball. Fastest growing city. We have many companies that come here. We have all four, I forget the name. We have fall, winter, spring, and summer. All four seasons. Government here is pretty decent. We have sports, and we love our sports. I mean, the only bad thing really in Indiana is the amount of homicides on the east side of Indy. I believe it's on the east side. If you are watching this from, I believe it's the east side, or the side of Indy that is having so many homicides, I truly actually hope that you're safe and you're good, because that side of Indy needs to be taken care of. I mean, that's terrible up there. But yeah, that's why Indiana is the best basketball state, and really just a sports state in general, and really just a good place to live. I mean, personally, where I live, I'm not going to tell you what part of Indiana I live in. We're actually a pretty, we actually have like housing. We have housing being built every day. Like, this part was built in 2005, and my parents moved here from Michigan. After that, we had another housing section built to that side of me. Then after that, we had housing built over by my school, and then right now we're having housing built. So we always constantly have people moving in to where I live, at least. So yeah, Indiana's a pretty nice place to live. See you guys next time. If you ever doubt Indiana basketball again, just come back to this video and remember, that game that you play on a daily basis and the game that you love, you should probably pay more respect to Indiana, because you really probably wouldn't have it if it weren't for Indiana. See you guys next time.